He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi a great place to live, work, and play. Today we're having a really special session of Coast View with Michael Sunderman. He and his wife Mary own M2 Media, and what I like to say about them is they are a power couple. For sure, they're a power couple. You probably know about many of their publications, but not the least of which is South Mississippi Living. And we'll get into some of the other titles as we get through this. So anyway, Michael, thank you for joining me here in the SuperTalk and Coast View studio.
Thanks, Ricky. Glad to be here. Congrats on the show, too, by the way.
Oh, thank you, man. It's been, like I said to all of my guests, it's been a great inspiration because I get a chance to visit with you and learn more about you that maybe I didn't know before, which is always the case, actually. I wish Mary could have joined us.
She's homesick with strep throat, but, I'm kind of the face of the company. She likes to be in the background doing all the heavy lifting.
Well, that's good for her.
Yeah.
She would have been great.
Yep.
She's a terrific woman, as you know, I know. So it's great to see her. We were competitors once.
We were. When I launched South Mississippi Living, you were launching Beach Boulevard about the same time. I remember we had a meeting in your office and we talked about that, like two bulls going, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And that was fun. Yeah. I thought Beach Boulevard was a beautiful magazine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we improved you guys.
Well, we had to. We had to step up a little bit. So, yeah.
No, it was a labor of love for both of us. And it's interesting that when you're competitors, oftentimes you don't come out of a competitive situation friends. And, in our case, we did.
We really did. Although there was, I think I was out in the store one time, and Ann looked at me one time and just glared at me for a while. She didn't know me that well.
Yeah.
But I think she said, you're fighting with Ricky. So anyway, but I think Ann's awesome too. So.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. So if you're in business, or you are going to start a business, or if you're just wanting to improve your career, I think today's Coast View session with Michael Sunderman is one that you ought to really pay attention to. So I know you, as we said, as a competitor. Now I know you as a friend. And I'm going to share with you a few attributes. This is a little different than I normally do this show, but I think this is a great way to start because I think during the conversation today, we're going to get a chance to kind of set the stage about things that I want people to learn about you as we had this conversation. So the first thing is you were passionate. You're willing to ask people. You're not willing to ask any of your employees to do anything that you're not willing to do. You're willing to get your hands dirty. Tell me about that.
I watched it from all my mentors from the first time I got in the newspaper business. The publisher at the time, Mike Dre, he'd be back there, stacking newspapers for the trucks. Dick Smith would have me go back there to the same newspaper and help me load trucks, or I had to learn how to fly the press. And that's a dangerous job, as you know. I had nearly got my shirt.
So it's an important example to set as well.
It is, yeah. And I don't, even now, I don't ask anyone. The other day, one of my guys walked in and goes, I'll get that. I was sweeping the floor. He goes, I'll get that. I said, no, I got this. Don't worry. I said, you're on deadline. Get out of here. So,
you're also focused on excellence in everything that you do.
Yeah. Remember that old commercial, we're number two, but we try harder? Yeah. I never wanted to be number two. I just, it's easier to be number one, have the best products in the market. It's easier to approach advertisers. It's easier to hire the best people.
Yeah. You and Mary are masters at creating relationships. In fact, you'd make a great politician.
I was on a board for about 4 years out in Nevada. I've had enough of politics, so that's good. But relationships are important. We've got a great relationship with the Mississippi Gaming and Hospitality Association. So we publish their quarterly news magazine, Gaming News. We've got a wonderful relationship with Coastal Mississippi. We publish Discover in partnership with them because we both have the same vision. And back in the day, they would every 2 years they'd have a new publisher. So I said, that's probably not the best model. I mean, can you imagine starting a magazine every 2 years, knowing that you got to stop it in 2 years?
No,
you can't build it up. So they bought into my vision that let's do one thing long term and do it together, but do it right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one I'm going to explain a little bit more. You're not an 8 to 5 guy. And so here's what I want to tell you about. I had a boss once. I worked for Mississippi Power Company early in my career, and his name was Bobby Nichols. Bobby taught me a lot of wisdom, and like great teachers and good mentors, you carry with them those teachings for the rest of your life, and they become part of you. And in his case, he told me something that I literally never forgot. It may have described a dimension of me at some point, but it really did drive me and help me understand that to be successful, I have to do this. And what he said was, to be successful, you have to be willing to burn the midnight oil. And for people who don't understand that phrase, in the old days, before electricity, you had a candle or you had an oil-burning lamp, and you would, in order to have light at night, you'd light them up. And in the case of the phrase burning the midnight oil, what you're saying is that you're willing to work harder. You're willing to work into the night. You're going to do your homework at night. You're going to be doggedly determined to achieve your goals. You burn the midnight oil.
I do, and I love it. Again, I had a publisher, Dick Smith, that said, Michael, I don't know anyone that's been successful that works 40 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if you just put your time in, I show up at 8, but I go home at 5, and I turn off. You've got to be totally committed, especially if you're a business owner and you're signing the front of the checks. You've got to be committed to do everything possible to make your company successful. And Mary and I go to a lot of events, so we might leave the office at 3 o'clock that day, but we're going home, putting on a different suit or a tux and going to an event. And sometimes we come home at, midnight, and you get up and do it again the next day.
What's interesting to me, so I've worked in a private enterprise, I've worked in a public company. And so whether you own the business or not, you should act like you own the business. If you work in a corporate environment, if you believe that your job is 8 to 5, you don't understand the real meaning of success and how to really position yourself for more success in your life. So, but it's a great example that you set as it relates to that. And so the last attribute, I could list more.
Okay.
But the last attribute that you sort of already kind of hinted at was you're happy. You love what you do, and it shows. How important is that?
I tell people I don't work. It's not work. If you're happy and you like what you're doing, I don't work. I've been fortunate to have some amazing mentors in my life that showed me how this business works and how to make a good profit. But I don't look at it that way. I look at this as just my life. It's what I do. I don't get upset that I got to get up and go to work.
Todd Trenchard said in the conversation I had with Todd, he said that people think the Baco McCarty Foundation is about raising money. It's not. It's about creating relationships with people. And that's essentially what you've done. You realize that if you can create good, positive, strong relationships, that you can leverage those for business success. And it's a mutual beneficial relationship. And you've always sort of gone that way, haven't you?
Yeah, always. That's why Jackpot's 26 years old. Early on, even back in my Nevada days, Lofton, Nevada days, I built a great relationship with all the casinos in town. Had all 10 casinos doing business with me. We have every casino in Mississippi doing business with it right now.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's hard to do.
It is,
because they change around a lot.
So that's actually a great segue. As our friend Christy Pickering said, she said, I wasn't born here, but I got here as quickly as I could. And I've come to say that myself, that I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, but I was here by the time I was 4. You're not from here, but Mississippi has embraced you. It really isn't it? It is. You're now from Mississippi, aren't you?
We consider this our home.
Yeah.
This is our forever home. Born and raised in Ohio, went out west after college to Arizona. Got a newspaper business there. Really by random luck, I walked in an office one day, met the publisher looking for directions, and he hired me that night.
One of those moments that I keep talking about, where you never know.
You never know which path your life's going to go on, and that one moment, that one chance meeting, changed my whole career line. So, but we couldn't. When I was in Nevada, I had a publisher I used to work for. He retired and went back to Mississippi. He said, they're gonna start casinos in Mississippi. You need to come down and check it out. So I flew into Memphis. I got in a car with him. We drove every single little city in Mississippi that was going to have a casino a license there. And the first couple cities you saw, Greenwood, Tunica, I went, I don't know about this. Mm-hmm. But I got to the coast, Ricky, and I thought, this looks like Laughlin, the Colorado River with all the casinos on it.
Yeah.
I could see this thing working here. And was it Bobby Mahoney said we were a tourist town with no tourists.
You're right.
And that's really what it was back here. It was just dead.
Yeah.
And the casinos came in here and brought this coast back to life. So we made a decision, rolled the dice, so to speak, and moved here, and it's been probably the best decisions of our life.
So you, one of the things I want to do is spend a little time in your experience in Laughlin and how it sort of began to set the stage for you in what is now a solid business endeavor here in Mississippi. But in this conversation, as we near the break, in this conversation, I really want to help people understand how success just doesn't come, how you have to burn the midnight oil, how you have to be determined, how you have to accept failure and learn from those failures and become stronger as a result of it. A lot of people experience failure in their life and they kind of give up.
Yeah.
They don't look at what they can get from that and learn from it. I mean, some of the most significant success stories have multiple failures in the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back after the break, and I want to begin to paint the picture of what is it that happened in Laughlin that made you come to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and what did you learn from that? We'll be back with Michael Sunderman after this break.
Yeah.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Into esports? So is Big Play. Check out Big Play's brand new esports virtual reality attraction with cash prizes paid weekly and monthly. Guaranteed to pay $100,000 this year. Plus 2 massive arcades, bowling go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena bumper cars, and right now, get a $50 game card for $25. Visit SuperTalk MS Gulf Coast on Facebook and print on demand. Big Play Entertainment Center. Bowl, play, eat.
Spring is just around the corner, and now's a great time to get in the driver's seat of that new John Deere you've been dreaming of when you shopped with your neighbors at SunSouth. Whether you're cutting, disking, planting, or harvesting, think SunSouth, where you'll find the quality John Deere equipment to meet your needs, affordably priced to save you time and money. Like the fast and efficient John Deere Z915E zero-turn mower as low as $109 a month. And if you need to tackle larger jobs, think SunSouth for the John Deere 3025E package, including tractor, trailer, loader, box blade, and rotary cutter for as low as $285 a month with 0% financing available. Come see how easy it is to own a John Deere when you visit SunSouth. For a full line of affordable John Deere equipment to get your outdoor jobs done faster and more efficiently, think SunSouth, for those that do.
Pricing plus taxes and fees. Financing with approved credit. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Expires March 7, 2020.
Are you going to be turning 65 in the next 6 months? You really need to start working on your options right now. For the last 50 years, you've trusted Gary Smith to help you with those options, and he's still here for you today. Start looking for a simple card in your mailbox. Not a piece of mail with an 800 number, but a simple card to say hello with a 228 number. That's Gary Smith. Talk to Gary and tell him what you're looking for and what you can afford for your Medicare supplemental insurance and Plan D prescription drug plan. That way you can keep your doctor and your meds. Call the Gary Smith Agency or visit online at GarySmithAgency.net. Our policy is taking care of you.
Sometimes the issues of life require the assistance of a professional, whether it involves an asbestos-related disease such as mesothelioma, personal injury from an accident, a real estate issue, or even an impending arrest charge. You need the help of an attorney. Cumbest, Hunter, and McCormick have more than 100 years combined experience representing the interests of Jackson County and Gulf Coast clients. Cumbest, Hunter, and McCormick, proud to support the Ole Miss Rebels. 762-5422, cchmlawyers.com.
What would you do with extra cash? Take a bucket list vacation? Put in a pool? Pay off high-interest debt? Why not let the equity in your home pay you back for all the years you've paid into it? With Keesler Federal Credit Union's low-rate home equity loan or line of credit, you'll have the freedom and flexibility to do whatever matters most to you. Apply today at kfcu.org.
Available on primary residence only in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and Florida. Membership and credit eligibility required. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 408911.
This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back. I've got Mike Sunderman here this morning. He is the president and publisher of M2 Media, South Mississippi Living, Jackpot. There's some other publications we'll talk about at some point during our conversation. What I wanted to do with Michael, though, before he came to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, he was in Laughlin, Nevada, and he experienced some things there that helped him learn as a president and a publisher and an owner, business owner, that he has that he has used here in coastal Mississippi. So let's tell that story, Michael. What did you do in Laughlin, and kind of take us on your little journey?
Well, I was in Cottonwood, Arizona, and I was a associate publisher there, and an opening came up for a startup weekly newspaper in Laughlin, Nevada, and they had a temporary publisher there. And the publisher who had trained me in Cottonwood, Dick Smith, said, he recommended me to the president, said, Michael's the guy, he's a good advertising guy, he can help build that market up. So I went over there, and Laughlin was just, it was a river with a couple of dinky little casinos there. But when I got there, there's all this rebar and stuff coming out of the ground. They were building casinos as fast as they could. So I took the job. The paper was losing about $10,000 a month. No one told me that when I got there, by the way, before I got there. So within 3 months, we got it to break even. They were wasting money, and there was some theft going on, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So we built that paper up. In fact, we within 3 years, we became the highest profit margin publication in the whole group. And then one day, Mary and I were sitting there, Mary's advertising manager there, and I was publisher. The president of the company came in and took me into one office, and the vice president, publisher of a daily newspaper in Kingman, Arizona, took Mary in another office, and they fired us both on the same day. Said, grab a box, get your stuff, you're out. Long story short, we came to find out that they felt that Mary and I had become too popular in town. We had won Business of the Year. We'd done all kind of good things. I was on the chamber board, all kind of stuff. And they felt that we were too liked and too well liked in the community that we could be a competitive threat. So what do? You fire us. And they wanted me to start an outdoor sign company in Gallup, New Mexico, and they wanted Mary to start as a rookie salesperson in a daily paper up over a dangerous mountain range. So we didn't take the offers, obviously. And a short time later, we had a little prayerful meeting and said, what do you want to do? I said, let's start our own paper. And we had just bought our first little house, all our savings. And so I had a couple phone calls, a couple job offers. And one of the job offers came from Mr. Don Laughlin, the town's founder. And he owned this giant casino complex. And he called me up, and he had me come to his office at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he said, Michael, I've been watching you. I like the way you work. He goes, I want you to be my vice president of marketing for the casino here. Everything. You're over everything. And I said, sir, I'm flattered, but that's really not my calling. I think I can do more for this town if I had my hands on that newspaper again. And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, well, Mary and I want to start our own paper, but we don't have the money. And he goes, well, what do you need? I said, probably at least $100,000. He goes, well, all right, I'll do it. I said, pardon? He goes, yeah, I'll give you $100,000. I said, well, again, I'm flattered, but if you put the money up, Mr. Laughlin, the other casinos probably won't support me. I need everybody. I said, but you own the bank. So at about 3 o'clock in the morning, he called the president of Laughlin National Bank and set up a credit line of $150,000 for us. And that's how we financed the paper. And you talk about relationships.
Where did your employees come from?
So a week or so later, after the loan was approved, we were at a big chamber function. Mary and I had a table all to ourselves. And everyone thought, well, that was odd. So they had a section that says, hey, anyone have any announcements? So I stood up and said, Mary and I are very happy to announce that we're going to start our own paper called the Laughlin, Nevada Times. And it really makes us really happy that our staff from our old paper is going to join us. And they literally stood up from the competitor's paper, stood up, walked over, and sat at our table. And you should have seen the face of that. Looked like your face just now. The other publishers like, and everyone, 400 people in that meeting stood up and cheered.
Wow.
And
what a great story.
Yeah, so we had instant staff with all the experience in town. We had all the best editors, all the writers, all the advertising people. So we started the paper, and I remember we printed in Las Vegas. And I remember like yesterday when there was a lady press manager there. I think her name was Mary too. And it's just like watching a baby born. That first paper came off, and she handed it to us. And Mary and I just poured down crying because that was our first newspaper that we owned. So we built that thing up, and we became the #1 paper within a few months. The other one basically was just almost out of business. And then a company called Brem Communications out of San Diego saw what was going on there and met with me and said, hey, I'm buying the daily newspaper across the way. I want to buy yours too. And I said, well, really not for sale. But he came into town. And I don't know if you know Mr. Brem. He was about 6'6", about 350-pound man. And at the time, I was driving a Corvette. I didn't know what this guy looked like. So I said, well, I can't meet you at the airport. People will know what's going on there. So I said, meet me in a parking lot at this little store. And here comes this giant man, and I stick him in a Corvette. And so we went to our house, and about 4 hours later, we had a deal to sell the paper. But the deal was that he'd buy our paper, but that I would be general manager of the daily newspaper and publisher of all the weeklies in the whole market. And that was great. And then the publisher of Daily, his name was Hal Parody, he was scheduled to retire in 2 years. And he said, when Hal retires, you'll be president of this company. I said, man, thank you. So I had a really bright future there. Just as Hal was going to retire, Mr. Brehm brought in consultants. Ricky, a consultant is never a consultant. They're there for a reason. So the consultant came in, and he kind of said, well, listen, I'm just here, doing a little work for Mr. Brehm. Well, long story short, Mr. Brehm wanted him to be the regional president. He thought I was at 30-something years old, was too young to head up his company. So I said, all right, I'll give him a chance. But he was terrible. He treated people terribly. We were losing accounts. I mean, $100,000 accounts left and right, including the Mr. Laughlin's Riverside Resort, all because he ran an editorial against Laughlin. So I quit, and I called Mr. Brehm up. I said, Mr. Brehm, I'm quit. I don't have a contract with you, but you shook my hand. And to me, that's better than anything we're going to sign a paper on. I said, I gave you my word that, I'd sell you our newspapers, but you gave me your word that you fulfill your end of the bargain. I said, I've done everything you've asked me to do, and you've not kept your end. So we're going to leave. We're going to go to Mississippi and start up a gaming publication called Jackpot, and that's how we got here.
Wow!
So
what an incredible journey.
Yeah. So I met my old publisher Dick Smith again. Met him in Memphis, Tennessee. We drove every little part of Mississippi over the next couple of days to see what was going to happen here in Mississippi. And I'll be honest with you, a couple of towns I saw, I said, man, this is not going to be very conducive to resort, gaming. But I got to the coast, and I said, this could work. This looks like Laughlin, with the Colorado River and all the casinos.
Right.
This looks like it can make it. It's got all the bones, so to speak. It had all the infrastructure there. It just needed some customers.
So you moved to Windance. I
moved to Windance. I told Mary, I said, one of the things, I live in the desert. I just want to see some green again. And I love golf. So I said, I'm going to find a house. So I came in on a weekend, bought a house, and went back. So
that's great. So you started Jackpot, and how long did it take you to realize you're onto something with Jackpot?
Well, at first, we thought this would be a slam dunk. Casino Magazine, with all our experience and all our relationships, this would be easy. It was a struggle. Most casinos said, see me in 6 months, come back in 6 months. Because...
It has so much business.
Well, no. Because before I got here, there were probably about 10 people that probably walked in the marketing office and said, hey, I'm going to do this.
Oh, right.
This. So they would say, oh, wow.
Right. I remember those days well.
Well, what they would do is they said, if you'll give me your 2 months up front, that'll help me start this magazine. And the casinos wanted to help out local companies at the time, still do. So they fronted the money. Well, they left town. So they had a really bad taste in their mouth. So here I walk in, a year later, and they had a lot of skepticism, didn't want to do that. So I was ready to shut it down, Ricky. We're probably invested $150,000 of our money, not bank money. This is our money. And I said, Mary, it's just not going to work. Let's do something else. And I had an offer to go up to Alabama and run a daily. And I said, well, I hate that, but I'll probably have to do that, Mary. And she said, no, don't do it, Michael. This is going to work. Trust me. I got a feeling. And the next week, I had a meeting with Dick Stewart from Boomtown. And I started talking, right, doing your sales pitch. He goes, stop. I said, man, I haven't got the good stuff yet. He goes, listen, I've done the research on you. If you'll do for us what you did for the casinos in Nevada, you got my full support. I'll take 2 pages every issue. And by the way, I had lunch with 2 other marketing directors. We talked about you. I think they'd like to talk to you, too. And that week, we probably signed a couple $100,000 in business.
Wow. So Mary's instincts were so good.
We're dead on. I didn't see it. I just, I'm more of a rational person. I said, this is not a good trend.
Yeah.
We're our burn rate was going pretty good. You're putting a magazine out, every 2 weeks with no customers, basically.
Yeah, I've heard burn rate before.
Yeah.
Burn rate is, for those of you who don't know, is when you're burning money at a very high rate.
Yep.
And you can't sustain it.
Your bills are higher than your revenue.
Yeah. For sure. What a great story that led you here. So where we're going to come back to at the end of the break is, so Jackpot takes off. It becomes this, I mean, not just locally, but across the state. And you start developing those relationships. And then one thing led to another, and another publication, then another publication, and then more partnerships. And then you have kind of leveraged that to this point. When we come back from the break, we'll continue the conversation with Michael Sunderman from M2 Media.
SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Twitter at SuperTalk MSGC.
From the Singing River Electric and Coast Electric Newsroom, your news now.
Pascagoula finally has a new mayor. Dr. Steve Dimitropoulos led the voting count in yesterday's special election with 73%. Bert Hill trailed with 22%, while Christopher Grace got 3% of the votes. Dimitropoulos will take over for Dean Maxwell, who took office in January as Public Service Commissioner. The Mississippi State Port Authority is getting a $15.76 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation to improve highway access to the Port of Gulfport. The infrastructure improvements include work on 1.2 miles of 30th Avenue, as well as a grade-separated bridge over Highway 90. The city of Goshen has been awarded $2.5 million in federal funding assistance by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to improve water quality and environmental infrastructure. Improvements will include an additional well and piping to address aging infrastructure and increase capacity. For SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1, I'm Kyle Curley.
Everyone in my family uses electricity differently. But when it comes to our Touchstone Energy Cooperative, we all think about it the same way. The co-op is power. Sure, electricity turns the lights on, but power is the information I get from my co-op about efficiency, safety, technology. And I trust the co-op because we are the co-op.
They're our neighbors.
Our friends. Our home.
Brought to you by Coast Electric and Singing River Electric, your Touchstone Energy Cooperatives.
Just like money in your pocket, that's Super Pawn. When you trade with us, you always get our best. Super deals are wide, whether you sell or buy. We cash checks, we pay bills, we make loans like no one will, and help you keep your pockets filled. Just like money in your pocket, that's Super Pawn.
So you probably already know Adventures Pub and Spirits has won awards for local favorites Hangout on the Coast and Best Bar on the Coast, but you may not know that Adventures also features an excellent lunch special menu Monday through Friday. Homemade lasagna, burgundy beef tips, chicken fried steak, shrimp creole, and more for only $8.95. Oh, my personal favorite, the seafood pie loaded up. Lump crab meat, shrimp and cheese, baked in a flaky pie crust. Adventures Pub and Spirits, 1 block north of the Hard Rock, next door to City Hall on Lemuse.
Have you made your New Year's resolution yet? Resolve to make 2020 a year to remember with a new lifestyle. At Arbor Properties, you'll discover features, amenities, and services that are only found at an Arbor Properties community. Whether you're looking to actively unwind in one of 5 fully equipped fitness studios, enjoy the free fitness classes, or reserve a spot with a personal trainer, Arbor Properties is the place to conquer your fitness goals. Arbor Properties apartment homes features granite countertops, custom cabinetry, luxury flooring, and upgraded fixtures. Arbor Properties' resolution is to ensure your living experience is nothing less than exceptional. Arbor Properties isn't just a place to live, it's a way of life. Let Arbor Properties help make 2020 your best year yet. Find your new home at Arborview d'Iberville, Arbor Landing on the River in Biloxi, Arbor Place, Biloxi, Arbor Village at Pass Road, Gulfport, or Arbor Station in Long Beach. Like Arbor Properties on Facebook. Sidewalk side or neutral ground side. It doesn't matter if you can't fit everyone in the car on parade night. And don't forget to make space for throws. Visit Baldwin's Subaru in Covington, and we'll show you how the Subaru Ascent is a Mardi Gras game changer. With 19 cup holders, there's spots for everyone's Go Cup, and room for 8 means Grandma won't have to compete with your beads for the last seat. Whether you're a sidewalk sider or a neutral ground sider, Baldwin Subaru has the parade vehicle for you.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. We got to talk Jimmy Buffett.
One day at breakfast, he says, I started a new song. He says, about a night and a day in Key West, I played a bar and I got drunk, and coming home, I stepped out of my flip-flop, and I just kept going. I stepped on a beer can. And the next morning, I'm up, and I'm hungover, and I'm trying to make a margarita. I got some shrimp boiling. I can't find the salt. I said, Jimmy, I kind of like this. And he said, yeah, I think I'll call it Margaritaville.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
The Mississippi Power Weather Center. Your weather now.
Mostly cloudy today, a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms scattered throughout the day. High 71 with a south wind up to 15 miles an hour. Tonight, chance of rain increases to 60%, the low 56. Tomorrow, a bit cooler, cloudy with a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. High near 61, cloudy tomorrow night, the overnight low near 40. Visit MississippiPower.com/ways to save to learn about programs and resources that can help you save energy and money on your electric bill.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back. I've got Michael Sunderman, who is the president and publisher of M2 Media. We've talked about Jackpot. We'll soon talk about South Mississippi Living, but you took a diversion along the way, Michael. Tell about that.
I mean, when I moved here, yeah.
No, going to Mars.
Oh, going to Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, a random, I was doing Jackpot, and I said this, we struggled at first, and then we did well. There was a point where I think 18 new casinos opened up statewide in 2.5 years, and they were throwing money at Jackpot Magazine as fast as they could, so we were growing fast. I got a call one day, said, this is Charles H. Morse from Savannah, Georgia. I picked up a copy of your magazine over here in Dallas, and I want to buy that magazine. And I said, well, I didn't know who he was. And I said, well, what's your name again? He goes, Charles H. Morse. I said, Mr. Morse? I said, it's not for sale, but thank you. I do appreciate it. No, whoa, wait a minute. Come see me. I said, where are you? He goes, I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I said, I don't have time to come to Savannah. He goes, I'll send my jet. I said, your what? So he sends a private jet, Learjet, to Gulfport. Mary and I get on Learjet by ourselves. We fly to Savannah, and we meet with Mr. Morse. And about 8 hours later, we formed a partnership. I wouldn't sell it completely. So, and so that's how I met Mr. Morse. And then together we bought out my last competitor I had in Tunica. It's called Good Times Magazine. He was just a little thorn in my side up there. So we bought him out, and then Rudy worked for us for the next 10 years. So we're humming along, we're doing great, and he'd call me every now and then, and I'd go to all the publishers' meetings, and he'd stand up, Michael, tell him your profit margin. I said, I don't want to talk about that, But one month we made a profit margin of 68%, which is unheard of in the print business.
Right.
I'm nowhere near that anymore.
Right.
That was when all those casinos were throwing money at us. So a year or two into our relationship, I get another phone call from Mr. Morse. He says, hey, Michael, I want to run something by you. I said, okay. He goes, and he runs about 6 or 8 characteristics of what he's looking for is a president to take over his company. And he goes, what do you think? And I said, Mr. Morse, you've been doing this a long time, and you deserve a break. So if you find the man or woman that meets those criteria, you ought to hire him and start enjoying life. He goes, great. When can you start? And that's how I got the job as the first president and chief operating officer of Morse newspaper. So Mary and I moved to Savannah, Georgia. We were there for about 5 years. I took over 60-some newspapers nationwide in the Caribbean, and by the time we left, it was 93.
So, Michael, when you left, I applauded because a great competitor left. And but when you left Lori Beth here.
Lori Beth remained, and David Grisham up in Tunica. And Lori Beth's been with me about 30 years now, working together for 30 years, some in Nevada and 26 years here. She knows every casino.
So Jackpot didn't miss a lick.
No, kept on going.
And then you started to haunt us, and here's how you did. You would send your little Learjet down to the coast and pick up a bunch of business guys and take them back for the Masters.
Yeah, that was a great trip. You talking about a marketing trip. So
Wow.
I'd load up with, I took some mayors, but mostly casino GMs and marketing folks, just as my way of saying thank you. Mr. Morse's way is his plane, not mine.
Yeah.
Of saying thank you for your business. And you talk about cementing relationships. They still talk to me about that. I can't remember. I mean, we went to the Masters, we flew there, and we got a private cabin, and we had VIP passes, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, you. What was your end at the Masters? Tell them about that.
Well, Mr. Morse is a member there. He's been a member there since the early 70s. He and his brother, Billy Morse. And that's how I got to play the course. Mr.
So you
Morse
left, but you were still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hated every minute of it. Again, you were a great competitor, no doubt.
But there came a point, we talk about how the industry changed. Mr. Morse and I started seeing things differently. I saw what was happening to the newspaper business, especially the dailies, shrinking in some really telltale signs coming down the road at us, the internet and all kinds of stuff. And my vision was we need to get into some specialty magazines. We need to shift our focus away from dailies. And at the time, we had offers to sell a bunch of our dailies, and I worked out a deal, and he didn't want to sell. So long story short, and my father died, and that's always that was a point in my life. I took a step back. I looked at my life, and I heard you say this the other day. You said, I was always pretty good at managing time with my family.
Yeah.
I for years with Mr. Morse, I did not. I was on the road about 3 weeks out of the month, traveling. So I didn't spend much time with my kids or my wife. And thank God for Mary, she held that all together. But I just made a decision. I want to do something different. So it took us about a year and a half to unwind our deal. But I struck a deal with Mr. Morse to buy him out of Mississippi, all the publications. And then once that deal was done, I would stay on as president for a short time and transition out. And that's how we did. That's how we bought it out.
So you gave a speech along the way. Tell them about that.
Oh, I was at a big newspaper convention. 400, 500, 600 newspaper folks in the audience, mostly older, gray-haired guys in dull suits in the audience. And the topic was the future of newspapers. And I, when it came to and everyone was talking, glowing remarks, and we're strong and blah, blah, people love newspapers. And it got to be my part of the speech. And I said, I'm looking at an audience of dinosaurs, and you don't see the comment coming. And you talk about crickets.
Well, I told you, Michael, I had the opportunity to give a few speeches too, because the kind of efforts I was involved with when I left the Sun Herald were significant change efforts. And I had the opportunity to work for the Newhouses and Advanced Publications, and they decided we're not going to do death by 1,000 cuts. We're going to strategically realign our company. And I gave a speech in New Orleans once to the Newspaper Publishers of America. It's same scenario. Here it's coming. This is what I think is going to happen. Here's why we made the changes. Here's the changes we made. I mean, it was dead silence in the room. And I look back on that, thinking about you and I were going to have this conversation. I wonder how many of the people present in that room at that moment who said very little or said zero are still even at a newspaper company today.
Or they were all older, Ricky, so they maybe passed on by now. But that culture of the newspaper business back then was that nothing could hurt us. We're the 800-pound gorilla, and we own the markets.
Yeah.
And we found out that we might have been a little chimpanzee.
Because the internet, the smartphone changed everything. It changed everything for multiple industries.
How you got your information.
It changed it for media as well. Yeah. So it created a new business model that literally obliterated the business model that existed for printed newspapers. Yeah. But you, through your printed publications, have been able to sort of stay away from, the comic coming. You found that Lifestyle magazine, you ultimately launched South Mississippi Living, and you found that having a lifestyle magazine, which is essentially what you were trying to tell Mr. Morris to do, is really the way. It's a great way to connect with people, and a great way to sort of get away from the reality of what's happening with most print publications today.
Yeah. So
was that the impetus for?
Yeah.
South
So when I was
Living?
traveling around the country, I was out in Santa Clarita, California. We had a big daily there. We had to compete against the LA Times and the Daily News out there. And there's a little startup company there. He started up a little lifestyle magazine up there. He was growing. He was 200 pages. I said, so I went and had lunch with him, and I said, walk me through what you're doing here. So I took that information back to Mr. Morris and some other people in the company. No, we don't want, that. So when I left Mr. Morris, I had a blueprint in my hand to start up South Mississippi Living. And I got back here, and we bought a home 31 days before Katrina hit. So our insurance kicked in one day, thank God. So I said, well, I can't start this magazine now. There's not much of a lifestyle. And then a year or so later, I'm driving down Pass Road, and I see Going Coastal, the Coast's newest lifestyle magazine. I said, son of a, you know what? Someone beat me to it. So I found out who's doing it. It was a young couple that left the Sun Herald, Bobby, I forget his last name, and his wife. And I found out they lived in downtown Biloxi. On a Sunday afternoon, I knocked on the door, kind of invited myself in, told them what I'm going to do. And I wasn't threatening them. I was just saying, listen, this is my experience. Here's what I'm doing. And I'm going to do this. Now, you can either compete against me or maybe we could join forces. She told me to get out of the house. An hour later, he called back and says, we'll do it. So we bought Going Coastal, which I hated the name because it sounded like Going Postal. Yeah. And I quickly converted it to South Mississippi Living, and that's when we launched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. What an interesting story of evolution. So we're getting close to the break, but South Mississippi Living has accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of like your show, Ricky. After Katrina, I thought the coast needed some good news, nothing but good news. Yeah. So that was the goal of the magazine. Were two goals. One was to talk about all the good things happening, and there were good things even back after Katrina. A lot of good things, and a lot of people doing some heavy lifting. And the other thing was, how can I help out nonprofits? How can we help lift them up? So that's kind of the two-track goal of that magazine.
I remember, it's so similar because when we launched Beach Boulevard at the Sun Herald, my goal, I've been involved in a recovery effort, and we had, the Sun Herald had been so focused on helping coastal Mississippi recover, and was awarded a Pulitzer Prize for the work that the team did. But I wanted Beach Boulevard to reflect everything that's great about coastal Mississippi, and I didn't want to show any destruction or have any conversation at all about Katrina was here. It's only
there's Katrina fatigue, right? Remember that?
Yeah,
just Katrina fatigue.
Just the beauty of this place and the way people are rebuilding and the beautiful coastal feeling that it had. Just wanted to reflect that, and you were doing that simultaneously. So, and in our own ways, we were contributing back to the coast. Ultimately, left and went to work for a privately owned media company, and you continued on. And eventually, I think they just basically shut the doors on Beach Boulevard because of pressures in the newspaper. Yep. But when we come back, we're going to continue Michael Sunderman and Mary Sunderman's evolution in their business, because they didn't stop there. There are other publications that came along. So after this break, we'll continue our conversation with Michael Sunderman.
When the power goes out, you feel helpless. Stumbling in the dark, especially during a hurricane, is dreadful. Bay Motor Winding wants you to have your comfort and independence. A Briggs & Stratton standby generator system from Bay Motor Winding will automatically power your entire home, keeping the lights, appliances, and cooling running smoothly. Select Briggs & Stratton generators come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Visit baymotorwinding.com before the power goes out.
Since 1950, when you needed help and advice from an experienced attorney, you turned to Boyce Holloman & Associates. Standing on the principles of experience, integrity, and results, Boyce Holloman & Associates can help you and your family with a variety of legal matters. When you come to Boyce Holloman & Associates of Gulfport, every client, every case gets the level of service from attorneys and staff who honor the legacy of Boyce Holloman's tradition of excellence. See Dean and Tim Holloman at Boyce Holloman & Associates, 1720 23rd Avenue, Gulfport.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. Indeed will also give you this sticky frog, which will suddenly leap and stick to the face of the perfect hire. Okay, there's no sticky frog. But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Post your next job at Indeed.com/hire and try skills tests for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, Saver. Walgreens here. We like the way you save. Take coffee. You know it doesn't have to cost $4 a cup, so you make your own. And co-pays on Medicare Part D. You save up to $5 and get 100 Balance Rewards points on each prescription when Walgreens is your preferred pharmacy. Save smartly on Med D. Walgreens. Trusted since 1901. Co-pay savings on Tier 1 generic drugs available through select plans that include Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Points cannot be earned in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Complete details at walgreens.com/balance.
Tired of burning your hands on your steering wheel? You know how hot Mississippi summers can be. Beat the heat with Solar Control, the Coast exclusive 3M window film dealer since 1975. 3M window film rejects up to 90% of the sun's heat and 99% of damaging UV rays, keeping you cool and comfortable year-round. Solar Control can tint most cars starting at only $180. Visit Solar Control in Ocean Springs on Bechtel Boulevard. Call 872-0805 or visit solarcontrolinc.com.
When you need to pick up a last-minute birthday card or gift, stop into Love's Pharmacy and Gifts in Pass Christian. Yes, Love's is a full-service pharmacy combining local hospitality and affordability. When half of the store has unique gifts, beautiful decorations for your home, fragrances, and free gift wrapping, you only have to make one stop. Love's Pharmacy and Gifts, 12345 Vidalia Road in Pass Christian. If you love great service with a smile, you'll love Love's Pharmacy, with a second location now open in Ocean Springs.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back. I've got Michael Sunderman here, and he's the president and publisher of M2 Media, and really an inspiration as I hope you've learned through this conversation. Michael has a lot to teach about determination and loving what you do, and like I said, burning the midnight oil, all of those things. So we had this conversation that led up to the launch of Jackpot. He went off to Mars, then he came back, started South Mississippi Living. But you didn't stop there, Michael. What was next?
There was a magazine called See South Mississippi. Lisa owned that. It was like a newcomers and visitors magazine. And over the years, in fact, Lisa worked for him for a little while. Over the years, we kept in touch, and I always said, hey, you ever, think about retiring, give me a call. So she thought about it, and she gave me a call. When you struck a deal, I bought it. But I bought it with the mindset that I didn't want that magazine. I wanted to do something, just buy her book of business, but really make it into a destination tourism magazine. So we relaunched it as Discover. But I also met with the Tourism Bureau at the same time and said, if I buy this, would you then consider? I said, I know you can't commit to that, but it's something you might want to look at. So I did a prototype for them, and they took it to the board, and the board said, yeah, this would be good. So that's the conversation where they used to do it every two years contract. We have a multi-year contract with the Tourism Bureau. I own the magazine, but we provide them fulfillment magazines.
And it's called what today?
Oh, it's called Discover South Mississippi. Well, actually, we just changed it to Discover Coastal Mississippi to tie in with the brand change.
Yeah.
I love Coastal Mississippi. I love that Coastal Mississippi.
I do too. When I was involved in the oil recovery efforts in Alabama, they didn't have. It was like Coastal Mississippi. They didn't have a designation. Some people called it South Alabama. Some they didn't. We came to refer to it as Coastal Alabama. And it kind of caught on.
Yeah.
And it became an important part of what we're doing. So it's doing well, the magazine?
Doing well. Yeah, we're number one in all categories. Discover's number one, Jackpot's number one, Living number one. So it's all good. So, and then Gaming News is our quarterly news magazine for the Mississippi Gaming and Hospitality Association. We do their official magazine.
So you actually launched that before you went to Savannah.
I did. I was in Jackson, Mississippi. Andy Borland was the original one of the original. Andy was the original public relations guy for the Beau Rivage when they opened up. Steve Wynn opened that up.
I remember Andy well.
And his wife, Steve Wynn's wife, met Andy, and he was with the Air Force Base out there. She met him, said, "This guy's got a lot of class. We need him at the Beau." And literally, Mrs. Wynn hired him for the Beau.
Wow.
So Andy opened up the Beau.
He was such a likable guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
But he was at first kind of like executive director of the association, and I was up in his office in Jackson one day, and I was waiting in the office, and there's like two or three pieces of paper stapled together, and I say, "Andy, what's this?" He goes, "Well, that's our newsletter." I said, "That's your newsletter, Andy? You guys are a professional organization." I said, "What if I could maybe do something better than that?" So I developed Gaming News. So I got that magazine for free.
Wow.
So that was one of my better
When
deals.
you're telling the story about the Beau, I can't help but think about our friend George Corchis.
Oh, yeah.
And, his amazing restaurant, Amici 30A.
He's opened up an Italian, Mexican restaurant.
Mexican
now, yeah.
restaurant right next door.
Yeah.
What a great vision that family has. Have you eaten at Amici 30A?
Yes, we were down there. I think one of Mary and I's anniversaries, we went down there, and
goodness gracious!
He just gave me the biggest hug, and he
I love the guy. George is one of my dearest friends.
Yeah.
I mean, and what he's done with that restaurant, and I'm sure Mexican restaurant's going to be great as well. So the gaming industry, in spite of all of the competitive situation in the other jurisdictions, it's really doing pretty darn good.
Record year. I gave you a copy of the annual gaming report.
Yeah, I got it. Right.
But gaming had a record year last year, spurred mostly, not entirely, but mostly by the added walk-in traffic that sports betting has done. Sports betting has been huge, and now we have the lottery. You can buy lottery tickets at the casinos too. But also in Mississippi, they keep reinventing themselves.
They do.
They keep remodeling, reinventing yourself. And that's really helped keep this market fresh.
What Chevis was saying is that the sports betting, and if you just isolate the sports betting, it probably hasn't performed as much as they expected, but what they've seen in ancillary businesses come from has exceeded their expectations.
Yeah, it's called non-gaming revenue. Is the restaurants, the nightclubs, all the amenities, the hotel room stays, everything's
they
up.
provide an opportunity for them to be able to say, come back, take a fresh look at what we've done.
Yeah.
And they've really leveraged that.
Yeah, and while you're here, throw some money on the craps table.
And then Rick Carter and Terry Green make an investment south, and you see other casinos that are making, like you said, adjustments, but not just adjustments. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars they continue to pour into these places.
Most every casino here in the last several years have done a major improvement, major investment here. Then you had a Scar Pearl come in the market too, and that's been a great new addition. Everyone says, "Oh, the casinos don't want more casinos." Down here, there's not a cabal there that says you're not welcome. The attitude of the casinos is, if you're going to come in this market, you better bring in
to play.
Well, bring in something that's going to grow the market, not take a slice of the pie.
Yeah, it's so important. So anyway, Michael, we're nearing the end of our time together. It's been a pleasure, man.
Same here, Ricky.
I expected that it was going to go well because I admire you. I think you're a good man.
Right back at you.
Yeah,
I think we've probably been doing this for 70 years. I was thinking on the way over here.
Probably it's been a long time.
I'm 36 years in this thing now. So
hey, let me do a quick shout out to our friends in the Delta. I got a note this morning that 7.5 inches of rain in the middle of Mississippi. I have a hunting camp that I cherish outside of Greenwood, and the rain that they're having there is epic. So please pray for the people of the middle part of the state. You'll be hearing, I'm sure, more about the flooding there on the news. So, Michael, thank you once again, and congratulations on all your success, and hope you to continue to have success.
Thanks, Ricky.
Okay, have a great day.